Hi there, it's Anne of Rosie Duck Designs here. Thanks very much for joining me today. I had an anniversary card that I wanted to make for some friends of ours, and this is the end result. I've used the new Granny Green apple colour here, and on top of that there's some white embossing, and I've coordinated that with Melon Mambo. So both those colours are in the Brights collection. Um, it, I was really pleased with the result of the card, so I thought we've got some other friends with an anniversary coming up in the not too distant future, so I thought I'd make a similar card for them. Now, I'm not going to make the complete card on camera because it can take rather a long time, but I just thought I would just share some stages of it with you to hopefully give you some ideas and perhaps some tips as we go along. So this is basically the card that I've made up so far. In this instance, I've used the new Coastal Cabana colour, which is again part of the Brights collection, and I'm coordinating that with Highland Heather, which is part of the Subtles collection. I think those two go rather well together, and they do in fact reflect the colour taste of these particular friends. And I think that's the great thing, isn't it, when we make cards for our friends and family, that we really are able to personalise them to really match what they like. So my base card, the same as the other one, is Whisper White, and it's 8 inches by 6 inches, scored on the long side at 4 inches. Now, I'm not somebody who can get their head around centimetres. I work in feet and inches. It's got something to do with my age, I'm sure. But on the stamping trimmer, you notice you've got both centimetres and you've got inches. So I'm saying 6 inches, so that equates to 15 centimetres more or less. 8 inches, I'd go with 20 centimetres. So if centimetres is your thing, 20 by 15, and then score on the long side 20 at 10. Going back to the inches, I've scored at 4, and then that gives me my base card. £28 this piece of equipment in the catalogue, and if you haven't got one, I would recommend you add it to your supplies just before I put it away. As well as having the two sets of measurements, you can measure quite comfortably up to 14 inches, so good for scrapbooking really, isn't it? You've also got a cutting blade, but you've also got a scoring tool, so you've got everything you need there to really make your cards quite nice little neat piece of equipment. So just putting that down to one side. Whenever I've scored my cardstock, I always then do run it down with my bone folder. That just makes sure that you get a really nice crisp edge on your card. Now my Coastal Cabana piece of cardstock is cut at 5 3/4 by 3 3/4, and on that I've added some white embossing using the white embossing powder. Just a little tip, if embossing is something you like to do, invest in one of these, an embossing buddy. £5.50, so not going to break the bank. And what you do is you rub it over your piece of card before you add your embossing powder. And what that does, it leaves a very fine layer of powder which stops any excess embossing powder sticking to your card. So once you then release the excess embossing powder back onto the sheet that you've got underneath it, all you're left with is actually your design. I personally keep a little paintbrush to one side, because if there is the odd little bit of powder left that I really don't want, if you're very careful, you can also take that off. To produce the pattern I've got on here, I've used this stamp set with my Versamark ink, and that has come out of the Colourful Seasons stamp set, and it's that one here. I've stamped inside my card using Coastal Cabana, and I've used this bit here. This is from Colourful Seasons, that's that stamp set there. but the sentiment has come from this stamp set, Beautiful Bouquet. Now I have to say this carried over from last year's catalogue, but it just passed me by for whatever reason, and I only spotted it when I was going through the new catalogue, and I was like, wow, I've got to have this. Why I didn't feel like that last year, I've got no idea. But anyway, really, really good, and I just love all the sentiments in it. They're things that I use all the time, but I also like the way the structure, for want of a better word, of those letters. I'm going to stamp that just on a plain piece of card just so that you can see it. There's my Costal Cabana ink pad. Particularly good one, is it? I think I didn't have my bone folder stuck under my stamp pad there. There we go, that's much better. It gives me an opportunity to show you this as well. This is a chamois, £7.50, and this is a new product for this year. Whenever I'm working, I tended to clean my stamps with baby wipes, which work perfectly well, but it always meant I finished up with multicoloured hands by the end of the day. This, you just rub it over your chamois and all the ink has gone, and there's actually nothing on my hands, which has got to be a bonus. To get this bit of the detail, I've used, as I say, that stamp set or stamp from Colourful Seasons, and I've done that by stamping off once, twice, and then straight on with the main colour over the top. And that's produced that. We go to a lot of trouble making nice cards, so why not add a bit of detail to coordinate with your card to the envelope? It just makes it a little bit special. The central bit here is Costal Cabana cut at 5 3/4 by 1 inch. I'm just going to close this because I don't want any accidents happening. And what I've done is I've covered it in this polka dot ribbon, which is out of the delightfully detailed suite that you'll find in the catalogue. I think it's around pages 38-39, and it comes in Whisper White and also very vanilla. This is the Whisper White version. It's gorgeous, this, I love it, and it just reminds me summer, weddings, that sort of thing. Absolutely beautiful. And the great thing with this is that you can actually turn it into any colour you want. I've done a bit here, and I've done that in Highland Heather, and I've just achieved that by taking my stamp pad of Highland Heather with a sponge brayer. I've just gone over the top there, and I've got a piece of now Highland Heather polka dot ribbon. So brilliant. That I would have to say is a must-have to put in your collection. So that was, as I say, cut at 5 3/4 by 1 inch, and basically I stuck some double-sided tape on the back. I cut this at 9 inches, 2 lots of 9 inches. So with one bit, I then added the ribbon round. I cut off any excess pieces of the ribbon, and then I added another piece along there, and then put the second bit, so you finish up with, you've actually got 2 pieces of the ribbon. So that was that, and I've attached that to the centre with some Stampin' Dimensionals. Now, although I'm making a similar card, I never like them to look exactly the same, so in this card I've added some glitter dots. These are really pretty, 4 different colours there, and also 4 different sizes that you can use. So I've already used the Granny Green Apple on the previous card, and now I'm using the Costal Cabana. I think that's Gorgeous Grape, and I think that's Melon Mambo. But I wouldn't 100% swear to that. You need to check that out in the catalogue. But again, nice piece of embellishments to add to your collection. So my sentiment I've stamped again using from the Beautiful Bouquet stamp set, which is here, and it's an anniversary card, so logically it says happy anniversary. This piece I've cut Whisper White at 1.5 by 2 3/4, and the Coastal Cabana piece is 1¼ by 2½. To get this detail, I've got a rounded corner here and a cut out bit there. I've used the detailed trio punch, so I've used that bit to get that, and that bit to get the rounded corners. I'm going to attach that to my card, and I'm going to use a piece of double-sided tape with that, purely because ribbon sometimes is quite hard to get anything to stick to. Double-sided tape will work. So I will put that on there, peel off the backing of that. I'm just going to centralise that onto the middle of the card. Just as my final embellishments, I've cut these out using my Big Shot, and these are from the Seasonal Layers Thinlit dies, and it's this little piece here that I've used. Again, that set coordinates with the Colourful Seasons stamp set. I ran it through a couple of times, but you still get the middle tends to stay in there, and all you need is your paper piercer to just take out the little bits there, and you're ready to go. I've stuck those together using a little bit of snail on one, and then I've offset it. Just before doing that, I've also taken my bone folder and I've just gently bent the leaves up so that I can sort of get a bit of texture to that. So that's what I've done there, and just before I finish I'm just pulling that up very slightly, and then you've got your flowers, and then the centre bit of that is the smallest glitter dot, which is the Coastal Cabana, which obviously then ties that central bit back into your backing card. And again, always best to go with an uneven number, so I've gone with 3. I'm going to stick one there, I think, one there, and possibly one there, and I'll attach those to my card using the mini stamping dimensionals. So I think that's about all I'm going to say. I'm not going to literally stick those on. I don't really want to make this like watching paint dry. So I hope there's been some ideas there. You can buy any of the things that I've highlighted today on my online shop. The details are by the thumbnail back at the start of the video. So thanks very much for joining me, and until next time I will say goodbye.